everybody, and welcome to Faith in an Ever Changing World Encouragement and Hope. I'm so glad that you could join us today, and it is a pleasure to introduce to you my guest, Brenda Harkins. Hi, Brenda. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, Janet, I'm glad to be here.
Great, great. Brenda is an author, speaker, mediator, and professional coach. She is also president of Harkins Leadership Group and creator of The Loud is Not a Language. And when we come back after our brief intro, we'll learn what God has given Brenda to do in this season. So stay with us. And we are back. Brenda, if you will, please share with us what has God given you to do in this season and how is faith helping you do it?
Mm, Thank you for the opportunity to share that. What God has given me to do in this season is to share a message that He has called Loud is Not a Language. And
Wow.
yeah, so I finally, after 7 years of Him talking to me about this, wrote a book on it. But the message is basically a different way of thinking about ourselves, about other people, about our
Uh-huh.
motivations, and about conflict
Mm,
so that we can love bigger, so that our
mm,
love look more like His,
mhm.
and so that we can have greater influence with people in our lives. So, what
Mm,
that really like when you break it down, what it looks like when we think differently about conflict. Most people think conflict is just a bad thing, and we try to avoid it. Uh,
right.
yeah,
A lot of people do not like conflict.
right. They either jump in just ready to fight,
Yeah,
they run away from it. That fight or
that's
flight.
right.
Yeah. So what the Lord has shown me is that conflict really is a beautiful way to actually deepen relationships. Uh,
Yeah,
Not the way most people think of conflict, but
right.
when we can enter a conversation really caring about the other person's stance,
Mm,
really caring about the other person, just the other person in general.
mhm, mhm,
What life experiences have they lived that have caused
mm,
them to believe the things they do, have the perspectives they do,
right.
hold the biases they do, because we all have them. Um,
Yes.
when we step in with an authentic desire to understand that about somebody and we give
Right.
them ear, we don't we all want to be heard?
Mm,
I mean, every single one of us wants to be heard. And so when we
mm,
give that gift to somebody that we listen to understand, it does deepen relationship. You may come away from the conflict and still not agree, but there
right.
will be a bridge of trust that has been created that was not there before. That
Mm,
gives room for influence to have longer standing than just within
mhm,
the moment. So
mhm.
that's been a really beautiful thing to recognize. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, how that looks with my own motivations is, am I walking into
Right.
conversations with my agenda of wanting this other person to think like me? Okay, so
Mhm.
if I'm doing that, and I take the time to flip that question and say, "So, Brenda, what would you think about this other person?
Mhm.
You knew their only motivation for talking to you was so that you would think like them."
Right, right.
That shines a light on some ugly stuff in here that
Mm,
that I need to sit with the Lord in for a little bit and hear what He has
yes,
to say about that.
yes.
So, yeah, thinking about our motivations differently, thinking about a conflict differently, thinking about others in in the light of each one of us was created in the image of God. And I don't have to be right. I don't have to be in control, and I don't have to look good all the time. What I
That's
do
right.
need to do, what He requires of me, is to love others well,
Hmm.
to listen to them, to care, to understand. And when I do that and build a bridge of trust, that gives me an open door for continuing to speak into other people's lives. So right now our world is just loud. I mean, the world is loud.
Yes,
If we
yes,
don't
it is
agree
loud.
with what somebody's saying, then
Exactly.
we shut them down, we cancel them, we whatever.
Yeah.
And so um, learning to think differently about other people
Mm,
and their differences,
right.
learning to love bigger,
Mm,
have it not be about being right. Um, and
hmm.
it dismantles some of our thinking and
Yeah.
requires some remantling in a kingdom way.
Yeah. And, increasing the quality of relationships and how we communicate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and my faith, in this, first of
Yeah.
all, the whole thing to me is about faith. The first book that just came out is for anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
The next one coming out is specifically Loud is Not a Language for Christians. And so I think
Mm,
it has some real specific things to us as people of
right.
faith. But my faith is involved in all of this, and it requires a courage that comes from Him,
Wow.
to step into this, because people don't always like what I have to say. People
True.
don't like not being right.
Right.
Don't.
Yes.
And so when you
Yes.
challenge somebody to listen to somebody who they think is wrong,
Hmm.
mm, we have a hard time with that. So somehow in our training, I don't know, somehow we have gotten to a place where we tend to think that if we listen, we're agreeing. If we listen to understand, if we're trying to understand somebody's perspective, oh my goodness, what if they think I
Hmm.
agree with them?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just, it's a ridiculous thing that I don't know how we got there. To listen to understand shows love and respect. And that
Mm,
doesn't mean that we agree, and we don't have
absolutely.
to agree, but we are called to love and respect.
Yes, absolutely. And agree to disagree.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh
We'll
my
be
goodness.
able to do that so much easier than this.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, this world environment is crazy.
it is. It is. And it is an ever-changing world.
It is.
And so we need to be more conscious of and learning to respect and to um, think about the other person's perspective
Yeah.
on something and not just what we feel or what we think.
Right.
Um,
So this model, this whole loud is not a language message is kind of a twofold thing. It has a challenge in there to us individually, a
yeah,
way to check our hearts to see if our hearts and mind are aligned with the Lord before we
yeah,
step into the conversation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the second step is, what does it actually look like to step into this situation with the right heart? And here's some things that might help those
yes,
conversations go well. So that's what the model is. And I believe it's the Lord's heart for us to be able to talk to one another in a way that shows love.
yes, absolutely. And thank you for being a vessel
Thank
uh,
you.
for him to give you this to do in this season and to be helpful and encouraging for us. Thank you so much. And I do have some information here for Brenda. Um, loud is not a language.com. And of course, her website, brendaharkins.com, and where you can access the book. And I believe it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And so, and then you can go to this website here as well to access. And I will have this information in the comments section as well. Brenda, thank you so much for being my guest today. And just thank you for all that you were doing in this season.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you all for watching. I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Spotify. And you can watch Faith in an Ever Changing World on Abundant TV. Just a great network for you and your family. Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from. Bye. God bless.